Welcome to the SOB radio show, where we have fun, interesting guests, and hot topics. Each week, we offer insights into music, fashion, health, fitness, and humor. Do you have the perfect guest for us to interview? I want to know. Drop me a line on our Facebook page at spunkyoldbroad1 or reach out to me on our website at spunkyoldbroad.com. And now, back to the show.
Hi, I'm back with JoAnna Brandi, and as you know, she is a happiness expert, and we've been talking about the things that she went through in her career. She had a very, very successful corporate career in New York, and then was not happy with the way things changed in her company, and then left, and then went out on her own, and now she's someone who is dealing in happiness and also customer awareness. So, if you were to answer this question, JoAnna, how would you answer it? What inspires you?
I've got a little list on the inside of my cabinet that that a friend of mine told me years ago to make a list of what inspires me. What inspires me is learning. What inspires me is studying a variety of different things and finding where they connect. Because when I do that, it feels like I've discovered truth. What inspires me are people who take 100% responsibility for their own life, and they don't cheat, because I cheat now and then. So people who take 100% responsibility, but yet are in the flow of life. What inspires me is teaching and watching. That's why I love longer-term clients, because I love watching people change. I love when people come back to me and said, as a result of what you taught me yesterday, I went home and had a different kind of conversation with my husband or my wife.
That's a wonderful thing, and it's funny that you keep a list somewhere, inside a cabinet or something. I think that's wonderful, because sometimes we get so down on ourselves we don't remember what is it I wanted to do. I'm so involved with everything else. So, if you were to say, I've got to look forward to something. I've got to put something on my plate. But I like the fact that you said people taking responsibility and don't cheat. There are an awful lot of people who like to play victim. There are an awful lot of people who like to say, well, if only. And I don't disagree with some of the things that have happened to them, but still they have to get over it. So what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to changing my story. I'm really looking forward to leaving the victimhood completely behind.
So you don't feel you've done that yet?
Not yet. I'm 80-odd% through the work.
And how long has this been, JoAnna?
Oh, this has been a long time. I've been studying this kind of stuff for a long time, and it's been a few years. I think that since it's funny you mentioned Ariana Huffington, how the PTSD began to manifest for me is I simply stopped sleeping. And so of course my body couldn't repair itself, and I couldn't get to sleep. So it's been about 3 years, I think. It's been about 3 years since this has sort of been actively going on. So what I'm looking forward to is this not only complete recovery, but I am looking forward to being more vibrantly alive in the next 10, 20 years than I've ever been before. I'm looking forward to attracting love to my life because I didn't think I would, and now I know I want to. So I'm really looking forward to being in the flow of life to the degree that what I desire comes to me. So completely different of getting out there and searching and looking and working and fighting and, all the kind of stuff I was brought up in and taught to do in both the business world and my personal life. Completely the opposite of that. Being in the space where I'm in such intimate conversation with the universe, God, whatever word you use to, or your higher self, whatever word you use to express that. Being in a very intimate relationship with myself and my desire, so that I can say, here's what I'd like, and attract that to my life through some sort of a synchronicity. And so I'm looking forward to really being in the flow of life and feeling as if I'm such an important part of the universe that when I desire something, it comes.
I think that's wonderful. People talk about attracting, and talk about the universe and so forth. And some people believe in it and some people don't. But I do think it's important to some kind of have an aura around you that brings people to you, because that's going to help you a great deal. But what specifically makes JoAnna happy? In other words, I know what makes me happy, and people tease me all the time because I'm always talking about my cats, but I do love my cats. So what makes JoAnna happy?
Connection.
Connection.
Connection, heart-to-heart connection. When you and I sat down we were sitting at the same table the last time we were at the meeting, and we looked at each other and said hello, and we started talking, and there was a real connection.
Wow.
When I am when I'm with clients and I am teaching them, and I see that I've connected mostly to their heart. It's great that I can connect with people's minds, but when I feel connected to people's hearts, that makes me happy. When I feel connected to nature, I feel really happy. So when I go to the beach, which I do frequently, and I put my feet in the sand and I feel like I'm part of something much larger, it makes me happy. And what I've done over the past 2 years, again, a gift of the I call it the takedown. It's that the universe just took me down because it needed me to show up in a different way than I was showing up. But I've developed a different relationship with nature. So when I go out and take a walk, I pay attention. I pay attention to the trees and the flowers and the insects and the geckos, and I'm just showing up in my life differently. And when I do that, it causes a feeling of happiness. Even more than happiness, I think it causes joy.
Wow, that's great. And I think that's almost what they talk about when they say being in the now, being present, being aware of what's around you,
exactly.
and appreciating that. And it's a big change for people like you and me who are going all the time, and something whacks you over the head and said, "Okay, pay attention, pay attention."
Well, I had a friend who she was a dear friend. She passed a long time ago, and she used to say that to me all the time. She says, God tickles you with a feather, but if you don't pay attention, you're going to get whacked by the 2x4.
That's true. That's so true. It's amazing, because I remember, I don't know, I remember you not from so recently, but a long time ago. I remember hearing your name and watching your work and thinking, wow, because you were very, 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 and still are, but I mean, you were really one of the leaders in customer care. I mean, that's what
Yes.
you were all about.
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden you started to change a little bit. And I thought to myself, that's interesting, because you really had such a fabulous reputation in the customer arena. So what would you say that your customers, your clients, whoever you're serving now, say to you that is different than how you were serving them before?
That's a really interesting question. Well, I think what's different is the tools. Before, I did everything almost intuitively. I figured out what needed to be done, and that's what I taught them. Now I'm sort of backed by science. All the stuff that I did intuitively now has scientific data behind it. So I think the difference is that I'm grounding them differently, knowing that that they're not taking a risk when they're hiring me, because what I promise is what they're going to get. So I think
So is your clientele more one-on-one, or is your clientele company, or is it
usually companies,
you?
groups of leaders within a company, and sometimes still working with the customer care team. And in smaller companies, I usually insist the whole company be there. So if there's 40 people in a company, let's take a Saturday and let's work together on a Saturday so everybody hears the same message at the same time. That is the most productive way to work, because then you don't get a group of people off doing one thing that's separate from someone else. Because the key thing that I have taught through the years, and I know that when I changed my positioning from being the customer care goddess to studying happiness, I know that's made business a little bit more difficult to get. because some people
Because
don't get it.
Companies don't want to hear about happiness.
I know. I'm reconsidering how I position myself. I am reconsidering how I position myself. But I love working with leaders because they get to do the day-to-day influence. They get to do that on a day-to-day basis. They get to practice these things. I call them positivity practices. They get to practice these things. They get to see the change. And that's real important to me, is that I see change.
Well, I think it's great. I mean, I know that I started out talking about joy and happiness, and somebody came to me pretty well, positioned, saying, Gayle, they don't buy joy and happiness. So then I said to myself, and then of course all those books on happiness came out, and I thought, well, they're all doing well. Why shouldn't I talk about it? But I think, the hard-nosed corporations still haven't quite gotten there, but I think it's changing little by little by little. It's changing, one by one by one. So let's hope it gets there. It's a very interesting concept. So what else is going on in JoAnna's life? Tell us about things that we haven't talked about.
Well, let's see. What else is going on in my life right now? Besides the studying, I'm making, you know what I'm doing? I'm making much more of an effort to build community around me. I am realizing I've just finished a project for a client. Can't talk about the project per se because I had to sign an NDA, but I can tell you that part of the project had me delving into the topic of loneliness in the elderly specifically, and also in other populations because there are lots of other people that are lonely as well. But specifically, I started with delving into the idea of loneliness. So where my thinking is going now is, where can I build a community? And that's challenged for an entrepreneur who's got 9 million things to do and piles of paper all over the place and saying, my God, I can't even find time to file. You know what I mean? Right. But I am making much more of an effort to say yes when friends say we're getting together. And instead of saying, well, I have to work, I'm making much more of an effort to be with people, because I understand so much now about loneliness and what it does to you. And
well, this is true. I remember when my mom was in an adult. Well, no, she wasn't. She was saying my sister had a practice, a medical practice, and she had the upstairs, and my mother lived downstairs, or vice versa. I don't know one or the other. And my mother would say, there are people down the street whose children never call, they never come to visit, and they are so lonely. And of course, my sister and I always, whether I was in the vicinity or not, because I was not, my sister was, but I was not. We always called, we always talked, we always were involved. And then she went into an adult living facility, and it was even worse there. Mm-hmm. And finally, she ended up in an assisted living home where they have only 11 or 12 people. And there were maybe, I would say, out of the 11 or 12 people, maybe 5 had family come and visit, but the other just didn't. And I think it's a shame, because you kind of sink further and further and further into a dementia of gee, nobody cares about me and everything out there is dark. So I think that's a very valuable service that you're providing. And but again, the people who hire you, if they're the ones that are going to make something happen from what you're discovering, that's the key.
Absolutely. And I want to do more of it in my personal life. I'm actually trained in something called circle work. And so I'm trained to facilitate. I do it in business. I do something called wisdom circles, but I want to start doing it in my personal life. I've got one little group now, where I get a group of people together, preferably women. I think I want to start with women's groups, talking about certain things. So it may be talking about loneliness, or it may be, I think it's going to be, for me, because I've already have a proposal into a wellness center. They're very excited about it. Is to get people talking about what does prosperity really mean? What does being abundant really mean? What does it really mean? We put such a preference on money and things. We're so thing oriented. JoAnna,
the funny thing is, because I'm going through this right now, the funny thing is, as you age, and you look at your things, you say, well, who wants them? Your kids don't want
I
them,
know.
you
Your
know,
kids definitely don't
and
want them.
then you got to get rid of them, and you don't want to get rid of them because they're meaningful to you, but your kids don't want the stuff you had. I mean, they don't want the silverware, and they don't want the china, and they don't want the memorabilia. Yeah, they may want some pictures, and even that's difficult now because everybody has everything on digital.
Hmm.
But you know, it's something to think about. So when you talk about prosperity and you talk about you know, success and you talk about money, it does take on a whole different feeling and meaning as you age.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was with a girlfriend the other night, and we went to a party with a gal that we met. I was in France recently with a group of people from here. I was supposed to run a retreat in France with an artist.
Wow, that's
One
different.
beautiful, beautiful artist by the name of Tia Crystal, and she and I were going to do the art and science of happiness, and the retreat did not fill up. And so I wasn't going to go. I just wasn't going to go. I had a ticket, but, you know, if she's not having the retreat, I wasn't going to go. She had 3 retreats in a row, and she said to me, come to my 3rd retreat. Some of our friends will be there. You'll really love it. And I was like, no, if I'm not getting paid, you know, if it's not work, you know,
Right.
God forbid I should. And then all of a sudden, one of the other gals who I know from Reiki circles and things like that, she spoke up one day and she said, well, I'm going. I'm going to France. It's my 70th birthday, and I am taking myself to France. And this light bulb went off in my head, which said, oh, I just turned 70. I gave myself a little party at the beach. I took myself off to see my kids. But what the hell? Why don't I take myself to France for my birthday? So I went.
If you're not going at 70, when are you going to go, right?
Well, that's it. Like, 'cause how much more time do I have? So I went to this beautiful retreat with these wonderful people who I think I'll be connected to for the rest of my life, and some of them were my current friends. And so we went on Saturday night to a party with to one of the women that was in France, and we all had the same experience, living together as a community for a week, cooking together. It was the most superb experience, and it brought me home once again with the knowledge that somehow I want to keep building community. I want to cook with people. I may live by myself the rest of my life. Who knows? But that doesn't mean I can't invite friends over to say, hey, my sister's a chef. Like, why don't we try out one of my sister's recipes or something like that? So I do more and more of that now, inviting people up to the beach for dinner. You know, let's just bring some salad stuff up to the beach and we'll make a salad. I belong to a tiny little beach club up here, so there's a pavilion, so it doesn't matter if it rains, it doesn't matter what the weather is, you can zip yourself in. So I'm doing more and more of that in a very conscious way of saying, you know what, this is for me, this is what fills my soul, this is what fills my heart, and that's more important than anything else right now, because I
And so
think when I fill my
how has
soul,
that affected your business and how you do business, JoAnna?
well,
Because all of that has to seep into your business somewhere.
it speaks to my business in the way I teach people. That
Hmm.
if they can be supremely, even if they only get a little bit of time during the day where they can lift their head up from their phone or lift their head up from whatever they're doing and make a sincere connection with another person, eyeball to eyeball, heart to heart, that deep, because when you let yourself see, here's the trick with, and this is why I love studying happiness, is that there are certain things we know now that we never knew before. Once you are, I call it the 20-second rule, but it's actually 17 seconds. Once you are experiencing a positive emotion for more than 20 seconds, which is what I teach, because we all cheat somehow, for more than 20 seconds, it begins to change the biochemistry in your body. So as your coworker is walking by, stop, say hello, make a sincere connection, compliment them on something. Tell them you noticed one of their strengths in a meeting. Tell them what that strength was. Thank them for helping you on a project. And really sincerely feel that positive emotion for more than 20 seconds. Feel it. Allow yourself to feel it. Um, Rejoice in the joy of another is another way to do it. Once you start doing that and you keep doing that over and over, you're not only changing your biochemistry, you're changing the wiring in your brain, which lessens the chance that you're going to get Alzheimer's or you're going to get one of these other many mentally based diseases that people get when they get older. So there are many things that people can do. Keeping an appreciation list, making a gratitude list, at the end of the day, taking a look at what you're grateful for, speaking that out loud to other people. And, it may sound funny to say, I'm really grateful for the fact that you picked up that cup of coffee for me on the way to my desk. I'm really grateful that you helped me finish that project. It meant so much to me because. So not only just the
something,
the hello.
JoAnna, that may be their only compliment they get in a particular day. I mean, there are so many people that go weeks without hearing great job or I really appreciate you or thank you or whatever,
I think the reason I do what I do and the reason I wrote the course that I wrote, my positive energizer course that for leaders, is that in all my years of being a consultant and walking around a building with a yellow pad, because that's what I did, because my contention was if you have problems with your customers, it doesn't start in the customer service department. It's somewhere in your company, but it's not just the responsibility of customer service. So as a consultant, I would go in with the yellow pad and I would take notes. And as I would talk to people, because I am a rapport builder like you, people feel comfortable. They share with you. Here's the one sentence I heard more than any other sentence I have ever heard in 30 years. How come they never notice when I do something right, but when I do something wrong, they're all over me?
That is the truth. That is the truth.
I think that goes back to the question, what inspires me? I want to change that environment at work because there's a spillover effect of work. And I want people to go home with energy left over for their kids, their hobbies, their communities, their friends. And some people come home from work and they can't breathe. They're so exhausted.
Well, that's true. We're at almost the end of our program, so I want to tell people how to get in touch with you. I also want you to tell people, I know you're offering a nice, wonderful gift to them. Tell us a little bit about where to find you and tell us a little bit about your gifts.
Okay, well, where to find me would be, a couple of places, actually. I've got 3 websites. I have returnonhappiness.com. That's my core business site. And if you go to returnonhappiness.com/happy place, there's a free gift there called 12 Ways to Make Your Workplace a Happy Place. And if you're not a workplace person and you're just looking to be happier, that would be my positivitypractices.com site, where there is another free report called From Positive Thinking to Positive Doing, 21 Practices to Overcome Negativity and Create a Healthier, Happier Life.
So if you want to find JoAnna, go to her main website, which is returnonhappiness.com. And if you go there and what do they have to do to get the free gift, JoAnna?
All they have to, they would have to put in returnonhappiness.com/happy place to get that particular gift.
Exactly, right.
But even if they just go to my website and sign up, they will get a gift.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And then I have one more, and that's the the online leadership program, and that's positiveenergizer.com. And on that particular page, there's an assessment to see how you're doing as a positive leader.
Fantastic. That's great. Well, I'll tell you, we have only about a minute and a half left. So what haven't we discussed that you would like our audience to know about you, about your company, about anything about JoAnna?
Well, I would love to work in more businesses. I would love to get the opportunity to teach more people how to take happiness into their own hands, how to take joy into their own hands. So I'm open. Like I said, I'm open to all kinds of possibilities, whether that's in business, or simply calling and saying I need a little happiness coaching.
Well, I think everybody can use a little bit of happiness coaching. There's nobody that doesn't need that. That's for sure. So whatever you're doing, JoAnna, you're doing it right. So just hang in there, and I'm sure there's going to be a tremendous boost to what you're doing, because I think businesses kind of, especially with all the entrepreneurial bents that are happening at this point, more and more people are leaning towards making sure that it happens right. Let's
Oh,
put it
yeah,
like
there's a
that.
happiness summit going on the internet this week. Every week now we're seeing more and more of it. And
Oh, that's wonderful.
I'm JoAnna at JoAnna at returnonhappiness.com. Will find me if somebody's got a question.
Well, that's wonderful. I want to thank you for being with us. I hope everyone listening enjoyed JoAnna. She's a treasure. You should get to know her.
Thank you.
Use her in your company if you can. Use her for yourself if you can. She's someone who will help you in any way. And as you can tell, she's never going to stop learning, so she can always provide you with something. Thanks so much for being with us today, JoAnna.
Thank you so much, Gayle. I really appreciate the opportunity to work with you. I've been dying to do that for years, so it finally happened. Thank you so much.